Hi, my name is Jenna Landy, and I'm Head of Marketing Research at Pinterest.
And I'm Karen Bloom, Creative Strategy Lead here in the UK. We're so glad you're joining us today, but just a few housekeeping notes before we start. First, we're recording this webinar and you'll be able to find the recording on our Pinterest UK Business YouTube channel next week. We'll also be answering your questions via email at the end, so be sure to input them into the chat box as we go along. And finally, when you exit the webinar, a 5-question survey will pop up, and we'd really appreciate you spending 90 seconds filling it out so that we can learn how to make future webinars even better. Plus, if you fill it out, we'll provide a link to download our slides from today. Great deal. So things are changing day by day, hour by hour. Sometimes just getting dinner on the table feels like a huge win. Other times we're looking for new ways to connect with our loved ones or for an inspiration for how to work me time around work time, and for some of us also around homeschool time. We don't know what the future might hold, but what we do know is that people are using Pinterest in increasingly interesting ways to make their todays a little brighter. Like Stephanie here. What you see here are her real board titles, from embracing being at home to comforting kids to connecting in new ways. There's one human truth that underscores all of this, and that is that people are resilient. We're creative, we're industrious, and we reimagine work, home, families, schools, meals, celebration, even fashion. I mean, who knew that socks with sliders would ever be okay until now? It's literally a new world, and people are looking for new ways to make the best of it. Embracing new self-care routines, keeping their loved ones busy and distracted, and sending out messages and tokens of gratitude and support. As people seek to become resilient, more creative, and more stronger, many turn to Pinterest, and we're honoured to be that home of inspiration, the place where people go to look for that spark. We're seeing global all-time highs on the engagement of the platform since coronavirus. And as people seek ideas to help them navigate through this new normal, engagement comes in many different forms. They're actively searching, which signals an open mind and a desire for information. They're saving the content that they discover, indicating that they want to revisit and take actions on the ideas that they find. And finally, they're creating new boards, which we see as an indication that people are creating new habits and exploring new things. And since the beginning of the crisis, we've also seen new signups and saves are up about 30% each. Searches were up about 60% year on year, and a record new board creation with 45% more than the same as last year. Also interesting is that people are actively visiting boards, going to other users' profiles and exploring an entire board more than they ever have before, that they're clearly seeking that inspiration from others. People representing every demographic are coming to Pinterest to find their next great idea. We have 367 million plus people coming to the platform every month, and key audiences such as parents, millennials, and Gen Z. Unlike other platforms though, Pinterest occupies a unique space. And as our CMO Andrea put it perfectly a few weeks ago, it's where people go to plan their future rather than scrolling through posts of what happened yesterday. It's where they go to discover that spark of inspiration, some emotional energy, which is more than important than ever right now. And it can be something small, like a way to make pasta that little more interesting tonight, or something big, like dreaming about your next trip, when we can actually do those things again. We're all experiencing a bit of reset right now, but that doesn't change the way people are using Pinterest to get inspired and make those decisions. On Pinterest, brands have a unique opportunity to guide those decisions, as pinners are hungry for inspiration and are also coming to the platform with that intention. They want to integrate new ideas into their lives in a real way. And what's unique to Pinterest is that these ideas so often come from brands like you. You're critical to their user experience and they return the favor. And we're excited to share some insights and recommendations today to help you do just that. This is a confusing time for sure. However, based on emerging behaviors and search trends on Pinterest, there are 4 important stages to consider as you're planning or replanning how your brand shows up in the age of coronavirus. All around the world, there are people living in each one of these 4 phases. While we believe many people in the UK are currently in phase 2, empathy and relevance, and just entering the 3rd phase of escapism and optimism, we'll be touching on data from all of these phases throughout this. These phases aren't strictly time-bound, and depending on what the future holds, they might not even be linear, but they do give us a guide of some of the evolving emotions that we are collectively facing right now. So now I'm going to hand things over to Jenna as we dive into the data.
Thanks so much, Karen. What we're going to share with you today is a breakdown of 3 key emotional need states that we're observing on Pinterest. In just a minute, I'll be digging into the data and the need state and all the information that we found to support it. We'll also share some examples of pins live right now that are delivering on each one of these really well to inspire you and your brands. Then I'm going to pass it back to Karen to share some examples from brands and some actionable ideas to stay relevant on Pinterest. All right, let's dig in. We see that people are coming to Pinterest for solutions, yes, but also for solace. They want to feel better and help others feel better too. They're looking for some needed sparks of inspiration and ideas to help them cope and thrive at an emotional level during this trying time. They need to laugh, they need to cry, they need to be human, and they need to care. And we see all of these different behaviors reflected in our data. And that last point, the need to care, is where we're really going to focus our discussion today, as it resonated so strongly across all of our findings. We found that people are turning to Pinterest today to stay inspired by meeting 3 key care need states. Me, I need to care for and keep myself whole. This need state focuses around how we're finding new self-care rituals and other ways of keeping our minds and emotions healthy. Then there's we. I need to care for and protect the ones that I love. This is how we're seeking loving distractions for our friends and family to keep us busy and connected. And then lastly, but certainly not least, is us. I need to care for and support my community. This is about how we're connecting and supporting our local and global communities right now, including our neighbors, medical workers, and those with fewer means. And here is how we did it. We've taken a holistic view of our user behavior across Pinterest right now, taking into account all of the different signals of intent pinners exhibit when they come to Pinterest. The following proof points come almost entirely from Pinterest first-party data. We looked at searches and board names and other actions that pinners take on Pinterest. We've also included some pinner perspectives through one-on-one interviews and woven in some of the Global Web Index survey responses from their ongoing COVID-19 multinational study. The majority of this research explores behaviors beginning in February and up to May 10th, with comparisons to the same time period last year. One note on Pinterest data: while search data shows us that people are hungry for sparks of inspiration in many, many different ways, we have the ability to look beyond just search terms. When you take a look at some of these behaviors as a whole, we really see in the data that people want to take actions on these ideas. As Karen said earlier, pinners are coming to Pinterest with intention, and they want to integrate these ideas into their lives in a real way. We see this coming to life through saves and through new board creation. As a researcher, it's easy to get lost in the data, but it's important to remember that we're all humans, and what we're experiencing is something totally unparalleled right now. These need states are not time-bound. They are not static. Just as this relationship is changing, just as this challenging experience is changing our relationship with the world around us and time in general, we move back and forth between each one of these need states, sometimes within a single hour. And that's okay. That's what it's like to be human right now. It's about this real juggle. And the further that this crisis unfolds, we see this juggle coming front and center as we try to find new ways and moments to reach beyond ourselves. Since this crisis is unlike anything any of us have ever experienced, we can't say for sure what's going to come next. What we can say is that after 2 months in lockdown, people are probably getting a little bit more comfortable with parts of this reality. While working full-time with a 2-year-old at home is still the hardest thing that I've ever done, at least I figured out my grocery cadence. While we all have our stage 1 panic moments, the data is showing us signals of shifts into a new phase, like the phases 3 and even 4 that Karen touched on earlier. These phases are where we're thinking more about our communities as we begin to see reopening happening around the world. In just a minute, I'm going to deep dive into each one of our care need states. And just a reminder to stick with us through the end, where Karen's going to be providing some actionable ideas for how your brand can reach consumers in each need state. All right, so let's start at the beginning and talk about the me need state, the largest need state on Pinterest in the UK right now. Me, I need to care for and keep myself whole. The first thing that many of us realized was that we had to do a check-in with ourselves. And so people are turning to Pinterest to find and embrace new self-care rituals that keep their minds and emotions healthy, to help keep ourselves sane and feeling like a whole person through this crazy time. People on Pinterest are looking to stay positive and grounded amidst so much uncertainty. I mean, aren't we all in search of a smile right now? This seemingly small gesture can reassure and ground ourselves. People are coming to Pinterest for this type of emotional support. For pinners, it's more than just hand washing, though we see plenty of that too. But it's about the small things like lighting candles or reading a powerful quote, deep breaths, or in the case of Tabby from London, planting a garden that can help us find some personal grounding in moments of uncertainty or fear. We're all looking for ideas that give us a little boost, like a new self care ritual or practice. Stress relief queries have increased on Pinterest globally, and I want to note that on mobile devices, these searches trigger our compassionate search tool, which offers evidence-based exercises developed by Stanford psychiatrists for people that want to feel better. However, when we analyzed week-over-week trends, we found that searches about stress that had a negative sentiment, such as stress quotes or anything about anxiety, are actually trending down, while searches for solutions like breathing quotes and home workouts, creative journal ideas, are trending up since this time last year. I mean, when else but now would you really have the time to do a 30-day yoga challenge anyway? But really, it's this kind of signal of a behavior shift that Pinterest is particularly astute at capturing and speaks to our overall message of inspiration and positivity. As we think about replanning our days, people are open to starting new challenges and new routines to just make us a little bit happier. And according to the Global Web Index, global pinners are 57% more likely than the average internet user to say that they plan to dance to keep fit during the outbreak. On the other side of the spectrum, sometimes it's not about practical stress relief. Sometimes you just need to treat yourself. As people seek comfort, we're seeing increases in searches for things like romantic comedies, at-home cocktails, and baking. For example, we see people getting pretty creative with their baking searches as the crisis went on, inventing some really interesting mashups like the trending Oreo cheesecake recipe. From stay-at-home orders to work-from-home distractions, pinners are actively finding ways to unwind and recharge to help ease the tensions from these daily routines. With so much out of our control right now, we have to look for the things that we can control. And so maybe it's okay to have that cupcake or that second glass of wine. We're all human after all, and plus, this moment in time is not going to be forever. So we covered the new form me time has taken. Now I want to share some insight on how people on Pinterest are not only caring for themselves, but finding ideas and inspiration to help them care for and protect the ones they love as well. I am like many of you in lockdown with my family, but some of you might be flying solo and others are with roommates. No matter what your situation may be, what's universal is that we're all looking for some loving distractions for ourselves and the ones that we love. Pinners are looking for ideas about how to juggle competing priorities in a new work from home world, or for just new ways to stay close despite the distance. For those of us that are at home with others, hunkered down together in one space, we're acutely aware of how one person's emotional state can impact the whole clan. Pinners are looking for activities and ways to keep the family sane and entertained as we all adjust to this new normal. While at first glance, these searches might look functional, like different home decor needs, they actually cover off on emotional needs too. Whether it's ideas for bars for your garden or original cocktail recipes for a virtual cocktail evening like this UK Pinner is hosting, pinners are seeking distractions that serve double duty. They support a pinner's juggling competing priorities, like finding a little space away from your desk while you're working from home, alongside caring for themselves, their kids, or their loved ones. As we all know, parents are really juggling and struggling right now to keep their jobs while keeping their kids busy, engaged, educated, and also distracted. And they're getting really creative as they do this. All throughout March, we saw massive increases in searches related to parenting around homeschool schedules, study schedules, toddler activities, and my personal favorite, chore charts, putting those older kids to work. But not everyone has children, and families can take all different shapes and forms. What we're seeing is that pinners are more broadly looking for creative ways to show love and spend time together, even if it's from a social distance. My daughter turned 2 at the end of March. That's her in this picture. And while she napped through her virtual birthday party, which was the best birthday gift of all, we didn't let the unusual circumstance of our world keep us from celebrating. And when it comes to events in general, Pinner's creativity knows no bounds. From virtual hen parties to virtual quiz ideas to themed dinner parties, Pinners are finding ways to give virtual cheers. UK Pinners are even adopting the US tradition of baby showers to help expecting mothers feel more celebratory and excited about their upcoming arrival during this unusual time. When we take a closer look at searches for our millennial pinners, we see that they're taking interest in quarantine birthdays and social distance bingo on the platform as particular ways of favorite ways of virtual celebrations. As we all reimagine our priorities and reinvent our routines, one thing becomes abundantly clear. What's happening is bigger than all of us, and we are all in this together. Beyond keeping their loved ones close, people are turning to Pinterest to connect and support their local community. For many, taking care of us is really what unites caring for me and caring for we. Helping in whatever way we can delivers personal emotional fulfillment, while also, in the case of letter writing or crafting, keeping families busy. Despite being stuck at home, our instincts are to help. But how? How can we help our community weather this storm? We see pinners coming to the platform to turn these ideas into a reality, with a 160% increase in searches for helping others quotes. Like this male UK pinner who checks on elderly neighbors and helps them with their weekly shop, pinners are looking to contribute to their communities in meaningful ways right now. And this is mirrored in their behavior on platform too. People's ability to save something and make it a part of their lives and to bring these ideas to life to make others' lives better too. With very limited opportunities to get out of the house, we're seeing that pinners are interested in engaging with their local communities in creative ways. Rising searches around rainbow art took place across the UK and actually around the world early in the crisis, as many hung rainbows in their windows for children to see on their daily exercise stroll. The rainbow window displays from around my neighborhood, a few photos here, are melting my heart. It's such a simple way for people to show support to one another. And now, later on in lockdown, as people get a little bit more comfortable with social distancing and eagerly anticipate the day when their communities begin to reopen, we're actually seeing increases in searches for street parties, which we know are big on Thursdays as people clap for carers. Despite the fact that we're more homebound than ever before, what we're seeing right now on Pinterest is a global consciousness, a feeling that what we're going through is universal for all of us. Pinners want to show gratitude to those on the front lines, and that's reflected in searches like thank you key workers, cakes for NHS staff, and activities to help their little ones recognize the people who help them most in these times. All right, now I'm going to turn it back over to Karen, who's going to take us through some creative recommendations for ways to take action on each of these need states. Over to you, Karen.
Thanks, Jenna. So we just shared 3 ways that people are turning to Pinterest to stay inspired by meeting the 3 key care need states, me, we, and us. As we said at the beginning, our goal is to provide you not just with the insights, but pair them with actionable ideas that your brand can take and build upon to meet consumers' needs right now and stay top of mind. Simply think of these ideas as jumping off points for content creation, either organically or integrated into paid advertising that you're already doing or looking to do. More often than not, you can include subtle tweaks to existing assets, like adding a text overlay or ensuring continuity between image, content, and trends that we went over today, and always trust the insights, of course. So let's go first up, the me need state. In these changing times, people need to care for themselves and keep themselves whole, and brands can help them meet this need and make inspired decisions around it. Our creative team pulled together the following recommendations for brands looking to create pins that offer people simple ideas for self-care. Take this pin on the right. A beauty brand can share ideas that offer simple solutions for how pinners can pamper themselves at home without having to step foot in a salon or a spa. Going further, how about providing step-by-step instructions for that at-home facial or tips for an at-home mani-pedi? Leverage your video assets for content like this, because we're seeing nearly a 220 increase in video views versus this time last year. Or if you're like me, how about giving people the idea of promoting your husband into your new colorist to hide those sneaky roots? For food and drink brands, now is the time to lean into accessible creative ideas and alternative use cases. Think dessert ideas that are easy to make and even more fun to decorate, and show how your product can be used as an ingredient, or show your twist on a classic recipe to open their eyes to new possibilities. And if you're a fitness or an FMCG brand, you could help me time by showing people how to unwind with a routine or a meditation practice, for example. A fitness brand could provide tips for setting up an at-home gym, while an FMCG brand could suggest using everyday items like food tins in place of weights. Second up, we have we. So ultimately, people are looking for ways to keep themselves and their households both busy and distracted, and need new ways to be together and make the most of these shared moments. Here are some ideas to help pinners keep the entire family entertained, educated, and importantly, distracted. With so many families spending more time at home than normal, many will be seeking ways to increase fun and activity, especially for the kids. Food and beverage brands can help parents turn their kids into sous chefs with simple recipes that they can participate in or recreate. Leverage your video content to show baking tips or step-by-steps for the kids to follow along, and get creative with food decorations. For us in our house, it's actually making unicorn and mermaid themed breakfasts in the morning with rainbow cream cheese and sprinkles on toast. And just to play that out, a dairy or bread company have credibility and the opportunity to be a spark for simple but meaningful ideas like that. We're all looking for ways to connect and still have fun. So how about inspiring pinners to host a virtual bash for friends and family? Whether it's pro tips for getting the best Wi-Fi or finding the products and games to actually connect with your friends, provide pinners with easy ways to interact and stay engaged during this stressful time. And finally, entertaining and even educating kids is more important and difficult than ever. So what if your brand helped transport the family somewhere else? With virtual tours of locations, museums, or zoos, travel brands can highlight unique destinations to visit virtually, and tech brands can offer the products that they need to explore them. And last up is the us state. So to capture the hearts and minds of those looking beyond themselves and into communities, brands can help them discover easy, fun, and effective ways that they can help or thank others, both locally and globally. So here are a few examples. Many people are looking for ways to support local and/or small businesses. So let's create pins that show ways to do this. A local restaurant can share recommended wine pairings for their delivery menu, while retailers might highlight products that are locally sourced or made by small businesses. Pinners are still looking for ways to come together and interact as a community, but from a distance. So for example, how about suggesting an epic neighborhood scavenger hunt? An entertainment brand could use characters to create themed hunts, or a travel brand could inspire pinners with local and city-specific places to visit outside. And we also see a lot of pinners wanting to show their gratitude to frontline workers everywhere. So help them by promoting gifting content, from editorial ideas to popular products. Pins that feature product bundles or simple gift cards can help them find that perfect idea. Think gratitude gifts for under £30, or feel good care packages like this pin on the right. So as you take your next steps to create these assets that will help inspire across each of the need states we discussed today, I want to highlight the 5 dimensions of inspiration. Think of these as guiding principles to get into the pinner's mindset, where they want to discover something new that's relevant for their life, that's beautiful whilst engaging, and makes them feel good and know how to take that action. And without a doubt, we know that things are feeling pretty uncertain right now, but consumers and brands alike are starting to look to the future. And while we don't know when our lives will return to normal, what we do know is that people are resilient and will always be looking to create the life that they love, no matter what the circumstances. And we know that that unique relationship between pinners and brands is a really great place to start. Inspiration is a fundamental human need. Whether focusing on the me, or on the we, or on the us, there's an exploration, celebration, and a glimpse into humanity happening on the platform today. And we're seeing people embrace the little things like more family dinners and finding new avenues to show gratitude to loved ones and the community heroes. Despite all of our unique ways of getting through this time, people are coming to Pinterest now more than ever, looking for that spark or a little lift. And your brand has that real opportunity to be the idea that brings that spark to life.
I'll leave you with this. We're seeing an increase in searches from UK pinners around sending love and hugs. So, sending a virtual hug to you and yours. We'll be online for the next half hour or so answering your questions via the chat, so keep them coming. Thank you so much for your time today. Please be sure to fill out our 30-second survey when you exit GoToWebinar. If you fill it out, we'll provide a link to download our slides from today. Thank you again.
Thank you. Bye.